Hello, my name is Wade Jackson. We will be talking about strengthening server security with AppArmor and HTTPS, IIS, and Apache. This presentation will focus on two important security technologies, which are AppArmor, which is a security mechanism for a Linux system, and HTTPS, the Secure Web Communication Protocol. We will be exploring the role of AppArmor in providing application level mandatory access control, and we will see how it strengthens the defense of Linux servers. In addition to that, we will look at what HTTPS is and its importance over HTTP, and how to configure it using Internet Information Services, which is also known as IIS. On Windows Server 2019 and Apache on Ubuntu 18.04. Along the way, we will also cover commands, differences between protocols, and server hardening recommendations to make both systems are overall secure. Understanding AppArmor. AppArmor is a security module for Linux operating systems that implements mandatory access control, which limits applications from accessing more resources than are explicitly permitted. AppArmor restricts them to profiles that dictate what they can read, write, or execute, rather than relying on applications to behave securely. This helps avoid unauthorized access to sensitive files or services. On Ubuntu 18.04, AppArmor is enabled by default, which means that all applications can have a profile that describes the allowed operations of the application. Unlike traditional discretionary access controls that uses user permissions, AppArmor keeps every compromised applications in check. Managing AppArmor. We can use sudo services AppArmor status or use a system CTL status AppArmor to verify that AppArmor is active. A green dot means that the service is running. For more detail, the command sudo AppArmor _ status gives information on how many profiles are loaded, which profiles are being enforced, and which profiles are in the complain mode. Profiles define the capabilities and what an application can and can't do. Additional profiles can be installed if necessary. These tools enable or delete profiles, allowing the administrator to have absolute control over what applications do and generally to greatly enhance the security of a server. AppArmor modes and more examples. AppArmor has two primary modes of operation. In complaint mode, it records violations or profile rules but stops the actions, which is useful for testing and debugging. In enforce mode, applications are kept strictly confined, thus preventing unauthorized actions. For instance, if an administrator wants to deny internet access to Firefox, there are lines such as denied network that can be added and the profile reloaded. Similarly, AppArmor can be used to limit access to certain folders by creating a new profile and disallowing dictionary traversal. These measures show how AppArmor keeps more control, ensuring that applications do only what they're expected to, and this reduces the potential for exploitation. Harden Linux with AppArmor. Hardening Linux servers with AppArmor is more than just installing the service. It is first necessary to always ensure that AppArmor is running and up to date with the latest version. It is also useful to consider placing critical applications, including web servers or database services, into enforce mode so they cannot get around defined restrictions. Profiles should also be reviewed and modified frequently to accommodate changes in applications, software, and security threats. This way, AppArmor can continue to provide some meaningful protection. Administrators reduce the attack surface and make them more compliant with security standards, protecting their defenses from cyber threats as a whole with these measures. HTTPS protocols basics. HTTPS, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, stands for the secure version of the basic level protocol, HTTP. It relies on transport layer security, which is also known as TLS, which provides three important kinds of protections: compromising encryption, data integrity, and authentication. Encryption ensures that communication is unreadable to eavesdroppers. Data integrity ensures that information is not modified by unauthorized parties during the transmission. It is authentication that ensures that clients are connected to legitimate server and not an imposter. HTTPS uses port 443 by default, whereas the default port used by the unsecured protocol, HTTP, is 80. This illustrates why in today's security environment it is critical to have a secure protocol when storing sensitive information such as credentials, payments, and sensitive user data. Configuring HTTPS on IIS. On Windows Server 2019, configuring Windows requires the use of Internet Information Services, which is also known as IIS, for creating an SSL, which is an address associated with a website or an address linked to a website's collection. First, administrators will need to acquire an SSL/TLS and copy it to the server. Then they use IIS Manager to import the certificate into the server's certificate store. After that, the certificate is bound to the target website using port 443. Finally, the IIS services are restarted to apply the changes. This process ensures all the communications from our clients to the website are encrypted and authenticated. Proper configuration of RSS on IIS not only benefits the security of user data, but it can also help to keep organizations and industries secure. Configuring HTTPS on Apache. On Linux systems, the setup of the HTTPS protocol is often done using the Apache web server. Administrators first copy certificate files into the directory. Next, the SSL module is enabled in Apache's configuration file by uncommenting specific directions. Then the virtual host configuration file is modified to use port 443 and specify the certificate and key files as the location of the certificate. Once modifications are made, Apache CTL configured test is used to make sure there is no syntax errors. Finally, the Apache service is restarted. Once completed, Apache provides a secure, confidentiality-only trusted web content serving systems over HTTPS that all those connected can be used. Server hardening recommendations. Beyond the installation of certificates, patch hardenings are required to secure web servers. For IIS, administrators should disable outdated versions of SSL/TLS as well as weak cipher suits enabled detailed logging to track suspicious activity and keep the server updated with security patches. For Apache, disabling directory listings keeps people from viewing unattended file structures. Strong TLS versions are enforced to require strong encryption, and file permissions are restricted to reduce exploitation. On both platforms, constant monitoring of logs and certificate status is crucial. These proactive practices not only help ensure that organization complies with the best security standards, but they help to reduce the possible vulnerabilities. In conclusion, this presentation discussed AppArmor and HTTPS, which are two important security practices that take place in server environments. AppArmor strengthens Linux security through stringent application profiles while using encryption, data integrity, and authentication for client-server communications through tightening detachments using HTTPS. We discussed how you can set up a IIS server using Windows as an operating system and Apache for Linux. And we also show examples how to secure sensitive information as well. Finally, we discussed the hardening techniques on both platforms and how it's not just a one-time safety measure, but an ongoing process that needs to be monitored, updated, and adjusted. Together, AppArmor and HTTPS forms a powerful base for deploying security for systems and users.